Have you ever noticed that the loudest, most reactive person in the room is usually the easiest to manipulate? When toxic people or narcissists enter a space, they subconsciously scan for a specific type of target. They look for someone eager to please, quick to react, or desperate for external validation. But when they lock eyes with an introvert, they usually back off. Why? Because the very traits that society labels as quiet or antisocial are actually heavily fortified psychological boundaries. However, not all introverts operate the same way. Behavioral psychology actually identifies 4 distinctly different types of introverts. And today, we are going to look at exactly how each of these 4 types possesses a unique, hardwired defense mechanism that makes a manipulator's usual tactics completely useless. The first type is the social introvert. Society often misunderstands them, assuming they just hate people. But in reality, social introverts deeply value human connection. They just prefer it in extremely small, heavily curated doses. They thrive in groups of 2 or 3, but their social battery dies instantly in massive crowds. This preference is a manipulator's worst nightmare. One of the most common manipulation tactics is isolation. A toxic person wants to separate you from your broad network of friends so they can become your only source of reality. But a social introvert's circle is already tiny and incredibly airtight. You cannot easily isolate someone who has spent years building a bulletproof foundation of trust with a chosen few. When a manipulator tries to gaslight a social introvert, that introvert doesn't panic. They simply cross-check the information with their trusted inner circle, exposing the lie immediately. Next, we have the thinking introvert. These individuals are not necessarily afraid of social events. They are simply distracted by their own incredibly rich inner world. They are highly analytical, constantly observing and processing information internally before they ever speak a word. Manipulators absolutely despise the thinking introvert because manipulators rely on impulsive, emotional reactions. If they can make you angry, sad, or defensive, they can control you. But the thinking introvert operates behind a massive cognitive wall. When a toxic person tries to provoke them, the thinking introvert does not react emotionally. Instead, they pause. They analyze the behavior as if they are watching a science experiment. This complete lack of an emotional reaction starves the manipulator of the drama they desperately need. The thinking introvert sees the inconsistency, labels the manipulation in their head, and simply observes it with total indifference. The third type is the anxious introvert. This is where the classic stereotype usually comes from. Anxious introverts seek solitude because being around others causes them genuine stress. They are acutely aware of how they are being perceived, which leads to a state of constant hypervigilance. While this anxiety is exhausting for the introvert, it acts as a highly tuned threat detection system. Manipulators wear masks. They present a charming, fake persona to the world to hide their true intentions. Most people are too distracted by their own egos to notice when that mask slips. But the anxious introvert is already scanning the room. Their hypervigilance means they pick up on the tiny, subconscious details that everyone else misses. They notice the slight shift in a tone of voice, the fake smile, or the passive-aggressive micro-expression. Before the manipulator even makes their move, the anxious introvert has already identified them as a threat and quietly distanced themselves. Finally, we have the restrained introvert. You can think of them as the slow warmers. They operate at a very deliberate, measured pace. They will never rush into a conversation, and they certainly never rush into a relationship. They need to observe a situation fully before committing their energy to it. This directly neutralizes a manipulator's favorite weapon: love bombing. Toxic people rely on artificial urgency. They want to rush intimacy, overwhelm you with affection, and lock you into a dynamic before you have time to think critically. But the restrained introvert refuses to be rushed. Their natural psychological rhythm demands time and space. When the manipulator tries to push for immediate closeness, the restrained introvert steps back and slows the pace down even further. This breaks the manipulator's timeline, frustrating them so much that they usually give up and look for an easier target. Society often pressures us to be louder, to speak faster, and to constantly engage. But as we can see, the need to step away from the noise is not a weakness. Whether you rely on a small circle of trust, a deep analytical mind, hyper-vigilant observation, or a slow and steady pace, your introversion is a built-in defense mechanism.
It protects your energy from those who want to steal it. Different people, different cultures, one human nature. Let me know which of the 4 types you are in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.